Welcome into episode 7 of WTOL 11 Sports Extra. I am Jordan Strack. This week I have found the most elusive man in Northwest Ohio, Dirk Conner, the head football coach at Perrysburg. Dirk, I've been trying, man. You couldn't get the permission slip signed to get out here. Is what you're saying, right?
You kept asking me a day ahead of time.
I know, man.
I gotta get a little quicker.
I know.
A little more advanced notice.
I know. Yeah, you're gonna call me out. I'll call you. Yeah, this is good. We're off to a great start here. This is gonna be an awesome 30 minutes. So. We'll talk for the next 30 minutes or so, just a little ball and everything. You're coming off an unbelievable weekend for you guys. I'm sure there had to be a little extra pep in your step this weekend. Everybody circles that Perrysburg Anthony Wayne game the last few years. It has become incredible. You two are obviously have been the class of the Northern Lakes League for the last decade or so. What was Friday night like for you? We were talking about almost 6,000 in attendance. Just a cool high school football atmosphere.
Yeah, that's what it was a special experience, and not just because of the result, but for everybody involved. And having a sellout like that, I've never been a part of any game that's had to turn people away. And the way that stadium's built, where everything's just like on top of you and you're sitting down almost in like a bowl, it made it feel even more than that. And so you take the rivalry combined with the atmosphere and playing for a league championship, it made a pretty special night.
That's what high school football is supposed to be about, though. Like. We've had some rough years recently, but to have that kind of atmosphere, like that's why those kids, like you guys do what you do, right? Like that. I mean, that's as cool as it gets around here.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes the 5 a.m.s in the winter that nobody knows about. It definitely makes it a little more worth it. But you said it best. I think you said we haven't had that the last few years, and this is the first year, not just from a football perspective, but just school and kind of like feels like it used to feel. Yeah. And I think the student sections all across Northwest Ohio have shown that and stuff, and the enthusiasm for the game. It's been awesome.
That's really cool. All right, let's give people a little bit of your background. Okay. How'd you kind of get into coaching? Where did it all start for you, and kind of how'd you find your way here?
Yeah, okay, so I don't know that there was a moment where it's like, oh, I want to coach football, but for as long as I can remember, that's been my passion. I mean, I can remember being a little kid and playing with little football figurines and stuff like that, and drawing up plays in class and in fourth grade, stuff like that. And so it's always been something that I've gravitated towards. And it's similar to what I try to teach the high school kids that I work with is find something you're passionate about and pursue it, whatever it is. Very similar to what you're doing right now.
Right.
Everything's a job, so find something you like to do and pursue it. And so when it came time to make that choice, it was pretty easy for me. In high school, I got involved in tutoring, where I tutored other students, and I enjoyed that aspect of it. And my love for the game of football, it was a no-brainer. Let's teach and coach at the high school level. And so that's what kind of got me into it. I'm originally from southwestern Indiana, and when I graduated college and went down there, I actually taught and coached where I went to high school for the first 9 years. And then for family reasons, my wife and I decided to move back up this direction, and she's originally from Findlay. We met at college, and so we moved back up this way. And Indiana, where I'm from, is a basketball state, and I've loved every second of football in the state of Ohio.
So walk me through when you got to Ohio and you were at Bowling Green High School. You were the AD and football coach at Bowling Green High School, and then took the Perrysburg job. This is your second year at Perrysburg, right?
Yeah.
Second year at Perrysburg. My years run together. I'm
I
getting
get
old.
it, man.
I'm getting old, man.
We're right there together.
So it's your second year at Perrysburg, but when you got to Bowling Green, when you got introduced to Ohio high school football, like, is there an actual tangible difference? Like, can you feel it?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
How can you tell?
In a lot of things. I mean, first of all, it's what people get excited about around here. And not only with the high school game, but with people's love of the Buckeyes and the college game. And and you've got the Browns and the Bengals. And Indiana just doesn't have that same feel to it. I mean, people are more excited about what's going to happen with IU basketball in the winter. And so it's just, it is a palpable feeling, but it's a priority of the state. And then you also see how good the coaching is up here, and every week you're on an opposite sideline of somebody that's good at what they do, and the X's and O's are so good up here, and I've enjoyed that a lot.
I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I had a coach tell me a couple years ago when you were at Bowling Green, they said, watch Dirk Conner. This dude's really good, when they were game planning against you, because I didn't really know you yet, and I had a coach say, this guy's really good. What do you think makes you good? Is it, I mean, like, brag about yourself here for a second. I mean, is it X's and O's? Is it like building a culture thing? Like, I mean, why have you been able to have success, you think?
No, I think good players, good foundation. You're never going to get me to brag about myself. That'll never happen. But
I tried though.
I'm not stupid. We know what we're doing. I mean, we
Yeah.
teach kids good stuff, but there's 1,000 coaches that teach good stuff.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is kind of the culture we try to create and the way we treat our players and enable them to go play the game. And it's not a job. Like we have fun doing what we do, and we do what we do, and we teach the kids what we teach them so that they can make plays on the field on Friday night. And I have a blast going out there with them and competing like crazy. And I don't know. I hope I get to keep doing that.
Take me back to like a year and a half ago, whatever it was, when you made that decision to go from Bowling Green to Perrysburg. What is that like? Because you're going just like 15 minutes up the road to a league rival. What is that decision process like? And kind of looking back on it, what was that like?
Well, there were so many factors that were involved in me just making that decision.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned I was the athletic director and the football coach down at Bowling Green. And to anybody that does both those roles, hats off to you if you're still doing it, because it's all consuming. And I'm a tough guy and I don't like to admit any weakness ever, but it got to the point where it was like, okay, and I have my principal's license, and it was, I either have to be a school administrator or I have to coach football. And I want to still coach football. I mean, I'm 39 years old. I've got 20 whatever years left in this profession, and I've still got a deep passion. And I thought, I had been thinking there for really about a year, like if the right opportunity comes available where I can provide for my family the way that I provide for my family now and just get to focus on nothing but football one more time, I want to take it. And when that Perrysburg job came open, I knew I'm going to go after this. And you play the part of it's hard because it's a rival school and things like that. And there were some it was hard telling my kids at Bowling Green because I just told you I love my players, and that's the big part of the reason for the success that we've had. So to have to tell them I was leaving to go to somebody we're going to play against was hard. But for me personally, and most importantly for my family, the people who live in my four walls, it was what was right for us. And so that part made it an easy decision.
What has that transition been like? What have the last couple years been like because, you got into a situation where it was like you didn't have to completely rebuild everything.
No.
Matt Kriegel had done a really good job, and they had won, and there was success. Like, what has that transition been like?
It's been good, and this year feels so much more comfortable and so much more like these are my kids. And, it's great because I was following Matt, who's a great friend, and he and I had a pretty special moment Friday that I'll remember throughout coaching. But it's also hard. Yeah. Because it's easy to follow somebody that's losing. Like
sure.
The bar's low. It's easy to come in and do better. But to follow somebody that's done a great job and really built a program there, you want to make sure that you're living up to those expectations. But at the same time, you've got to be you and do the things that you do. And so initially, it took me longer to adjust than I thought it would. I really did. I thought I've been a head coach, like I know my X's and O's and stuff, and I'll get with the kids. But it just took longer to develop that type of relationship that I like to have with the kids and get to know them than what I thought it would. But we're rolling now, and that. You say a year and a half feels like it makes a short time ago, but it feels like it's been a decade ago at this point. And so it's comfortable, and this is home.
What can you share with us about that moment between you and Matt Kriegel the other night?
Nothing, man. He just came up and gave me a hug. Matt's not much to give a hug, but just it was just a good moment, And that I know he enjoyed the game, and him having that and knowing that he likes what he sees on the field with the program that he initially built. It's a good moment for me.
Let's talk through the NLL here a little bit. Yeah. Everybody kind of knows that you and Anthony Wayne have set yourselves apart, and I think everybody knows they're chasing you two. What are those battles like? Like, can you feel a difference in getting ready for that week?
Yeah, you can. Part of it is it's a rival. It's become that way. It's just It may not be on paper, but it is. That's who. When they work out, they're thinking of us. When we work out, we're thinking of them. And so that part's easy. But then also, a lot of it's just the size of school. The depth that you see, the personnel that they're able to put on the field, like it's fun to prepare for. And it heightens your awareness. And especially when you watch that film and they're 6-0 and they've given up about 6 points a game, it doesn't take long to catch your attention and say, we got to be on it this week.
Yeah, they had only given up like 40 points all year long, and then you guys went and hung what you hung on them, which was, obviously very impressive. You talk about size, you talk about leagues, you talk about the question everybody talks about around here is leagues changing and schools moving, and you guys are one of them that has been at the center of all of this. Have you given yourself a second to sit and think about what the new NLL is going to look like when you have mean, it's fun. Like, I know you and I have had conversations about this before, but like when you sit and think about what the new NLL could be like, do you get excited about the potential?
I do get excited, and not just for Perrysburg, but I was involved in that process too when I was still athletic director at Bowling Green, and I think it's good for all 11 teams that are going to be a part of it, and maybe more down the road. So,
you aren't breaking any news. I mean,
no, I wish. Listen, I'm outside of that circle now, but I felt comfortable enough to say that.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Because I do think that's the hope. 11 is not an ideal number, but I think when people see what the league can become and the type of schools that are represented within it, and I think the structure with kind of big division, small division is good for everybody involved, and I think it's something that needed to happen to keep everybody that was a original member of the NLL together. That things change, they just do, and they're going to change 20 years from now, and that's just how life works. And the schools are so different than they were 20 years ago, and I wasn't here at that time, but man, I've sure heard people talk about it, and I've done my homework on what the enrollments look like and things like that, and just the growth of particularly Perrysburg and Anthony Wayne compared to some of the other schools that are losing enrollment and getting smaller. It was time to do something, but I applaud everybody that was in that room for working together and trying to find a way, because we all work well together, and it's a good partnership. It's the right type of schools represented to find a way to make it work, and I'm excited about what the league's going to become.
I think when you start talking about the leagues changing and you talk about history and things, like the other thing is that you are going to lose like that natural rivalry that's been happening forever with Maumee, which I mean, listen, it breaks my heart. Like but I think everybody understands, like a school like Perrysburg and a school like Anthony Wayne that continues to get bigger, and Maumee, the enrollment is going down. At some point, that stuff's going to have to change. Like, are you a nostalgic guy, though? Like, can you appreciate at least the history and those things? Like, not getting to play against Maumee and have those kids celebrate with the bell. Like, I mean, like, let's be honest. Like, that's going to kind of suck. Like, I'll miss that part. Like, for me, as just a fan now, I remember growing up and sitting in the first row and one team winning and running out on the field and getting that bell. And that was, like, the thing that everybody waited for.
Yeah.
Like, you can appreciate that, though, right?
Oh, absolutely. And after having a firsthand taste of it last year, even though, the schools are whatever they are right now. It's palpable, and we have an entire week of Maumee, and I'm sure Maumee does the same thing for Perrysburg.
Absolutely,
absolutely, and I can only imagine people that have been around a long time, what that's going to mean to them. But I know we've got some special stuff planned for this year, for the last time for the foreseeable future that this game's going to happen. Hopefully, at some point we can get it back. I really do. But we'll work through that and see how it goes. But yeah, we're going to appreciate this one a little bit more than maybe in the past, and try to send it out the right way.
For sure. And it's, I mean, I like I've been around a little while now, and I can remember some of those. And like, there's been years where, Maumee's had a down year and they somehow sneak up and beat Perrysburg. Perrysburg had a down year, you sneak up and beat Maumee, and that makes them even more special. Let's talk about a couple of your individual guys, because you've got a couple D1 guys that are going to go play in college. I want to start with Connor Wallenczak, because I just think, like, just watching that kid, he's special. And like, but it's not what he does not as much. I mean, he's great on the field. Like, I get that. Like, he's a freak athlete. But, like, off the field, he's as impressive as any kid that, like, I've ever talked to. Can you kind of put into words how impressive that kid is?
It's tough, but when I think about Connor, or when I talk about Connor, I mean, the best phrase I can think of is All-American boy. Like, he's everything you want a kid to be from every different aspect of life. And so, I'm trying to soak up and enjoy having him. And really, he's a once-in-a-lifetime type of kid. And, you said it best. What makes him so special isn't necessarily everything he does on the field, but I think we could probably talk about how special he is there, too. He's just a great kid. I mean, tremendous kid, and what a compliment to his family, the way they've raised him. And I can't imagine how proud they must be of how he turned out.
Can you imagine being that good at a sport where that, like, you had all the college baseball coaches coming after you, and then all these college football coaches? Like, I was never that good of an athlete. Like, could you imagine having different sports to choose from? Like, how ridiculous is that?
It's awesome. And no, I can't imagine. Hard work got me a lot further than any talent.
I was going to say, man, I wish I was that talented. But he is. Like, he's just an impressive kid. How about on the field? Like, what makes him so special? Why did Jason Candle want him to come play for the Rockets?
Well, I think, Jason and the Rockets got really lucky, because he's a tremendously special talent. And the thing that impressed me most about Connor, it doesn't even matter what position you play him at. I mean, everybody knows he's an all-state running back. he's the best runner, he's the best blocker, he's the best catcher, he's the best tackler. Like, he is that special of a kid, and I think it really is showing this year with him playing more defense and us trying, purposefully to get him the ball more in the passing game.
Yeah.
He's just good at everything he does, which also goes to the, having baseball scholarship and things. But, Jason's getting a special kid, and the Toledo coaching staff did a great job with him and recruiting him, and they've been first class all the way. And after our Southview game, I texted Coach Ciccone just because I felt the urge, you guys are getting a really special kid here.
Yeah, I'm sure Ricky's thrilled about that as well. Do you have to fight the urge to not play him on defense too much? Or are you just
it's the other way around.
Really?
He plays every play of defense, and we take him out on offense.
But when you have a guy, when you have a guy that's that special offensively, how do you not get him the ball 30, let him touch it 30 times, then have to go play defense? How do you try to balance all of it?
That's where I'm really blessed because we've got a quarterback that can carry the load, whether Conner's in the game or not. And so we're blessed in that regard to be able to balance it. But also, we're in this for the long haul, not just necessarily looking at 10 weeks and things of that nature. And so we do our best to keep him healthy.
All right, let's talk about your quarterback a little bit, TJ Tackett. I thought, and I haven't, obviously, I don't get to see every single snap, but I thought that was about as well as I've seen him play against Anthony Wayne. I thought he was at a different level the other day. I think probably a lot of things you guys did scheme-wise helped. I mean, getting the ball out of his hands really quick because Anthony Wayne's defensive line is really good. Yeah. And Jack Border I thought was really good.
Jack's been phenomenal.
But I thought scheme-wise you guys helped him. But I thought it was the best that I had seen him really throw the football. Did you think that was as good a performance as he's had?
It's as good a performance as he's had, but he's thrown the football that way all year.
Yeah.
He really has. But a lot of my guys, and we were actually talking about this today at walkthrough, TJ, Jack, and Connor, they've played 2 quarters of most of our games. Yeah. And so you haven't got to see the full sample size right there. But TJ was lights out, and he was lights out against a good team. And, he said it on a news interview, so I feel comfortable repeating it. He said, I threw 3 interceptions in this game last year, and he did. And to show the improvement that he's made and to run the show the way he did, I mean, all 5 skill positions that we have on the field caught the football multiple times Friday night. For him to spread the ball around, and it's not my schematics, it's him understanding what to do and going out there and doing it. And there were a couple of times where he made off-schedule throws. It's not necessarily the primary read, but it's a second or third read. And to show that he's made it that far, I talk with Mike Ward, my defense coordinator, all the time, and say, what am I missing? This kid is a scholarship quarterback. And I always try to be honest about my people, in evaluations, and especially in talking to college coaches. And with him, it's what am I missing? If he's not a MAC quarterback, what is? And so, that's me getting on my high horse for TJ right now.
Please do.
But he's got it all. He's got the size. He's got an absolute rocket for an arm. He's got the athleticism. Smart kid, good kid. I don't know what he could possibly be missing other than he didn't pay a private quarterback coach or go to camps in the summer.
See, now we're getting into the good stuff, Dirk. Let's go. I like this. All right, let's talk about it a little. So TJ's obviously going to go play college baseball at BGSU, and baseball has obviously always been a passion of his, and he's a terrific baseball player. So do you think he could play? He's a guy that could play both.
I think I'm not speaking for TJ.
Right.
And I think at the end of the day, I think he probably wants to play baseball.
Sure.
I do. And maybe that factors into the decision. I just, in my own evaluations and trying to evaluate kids, I'm passionate about this because he really is a special talent. If he's not what it takes to play, and I'm not talking about Ohio State or anything like that, but if he's not a MAC level quarterback, then I don't know that I'll ever coach one.
Yeah. That's interesting. And you have Mike. You mentioned Mike Ward on your staff. Mike Ward has coached college football for a lot of years. Yeah. He's been into a lot of living rooms. He's recruited a lot of kids. What's Mike say? What's his response?
He's with me on this one, I think.
Okay, that's good. How much do you lean on Mike? What has that relationship been like? Because he's a guy you brought from Bowling Green to Perrysburg with you. What is that? I mean, how often do you get to just toss your defense to a guy who's been a D1 college coach?
It's amazing. But he and I are always honest with each other, and that was part of the deal when we got together. Was, I want somebody that can run the defense, and I don't have to bother or talk to, and I don't bother him. but he's also great with the kids, and it helps instill the type of culture that we want to instill. And with college, he's used to grinding out the hours, and so he's a tremendous asset, especially in the off season and in the weight room. And it cuts my load in half. I don't have to be there morning and night because he wants to put in the work as well. And Mike's a great football coach and become a great friend, and I'm incredibly thankful that he agreed to come along for this ride with me.
And he's an awesome dude.
Awesome dude.
Just a great human being who I just think the world of. I always have. I think the guy's great. Let's talk about a couple of these other guys you got. You've got Grant Zimmerly, who his brother is playing at BGSU. Grant's going to go play at Toledo, which is beyond fascinating, which I love. He was injured last year, came back this year. How has he kind of progressed in your mind?
As advertised. I mean, there's a reason he's a scholarship-level football player.
Yeah.
But Grant's been tremendous. And, again, he goes along with, and I talked about this, like we have a special group of kids in a tremendous senior class, and there's 25 of them we could talk about right now. But Grant's just been awesome on the football field. I mean, if you look at our run game, we've been pretty right-hand dominant because he plays that right tackle position. And TJ's left-handed, so protecting his blind side right there. And, he's a stud. He's a mauler. Like, he's as advertised, and he plays with the right disposition and just the right amount of nasty. And, he's a technician in what he does as well. And Coach Sam Cotterman, who coaches in our offensive line, does just a tremendous job with those guys.
We talked about a couple guys who play multiple sports. Connor and TJ are both baseball players and football players. How are you on multiple sport athletes? Are you a guy who's all about kids playing multiple sports?
Absolutely. It takes the right amount of talent to do it.
Yeah.
Especially at a school the size of Perrysburg,
which
is a shift from where I was at Bowling Green. But absolutely. And this, one of the things, and I think coaches can be selfish sometimes, and I really try to never fall into this category, and I hope I don't, but this is those kids' experience. Yeah. This is not my experience. This is TJ's experience and Connor's experience. And if they want to go do things and they want to go play baseball, and I've even tried to talk one of them into playing basketball, but he doesn't want to do it, then go do those things. I mean, you and I both know the value of high school sports. And, even when you go on to play in college stuff, it sounds cool. It becomes a job at that level.
Yes.
It really does. And this is the purest form of sport, in my opinion, that we have left. And for me to try to advocate those guys to, hey, you probably ought to just focus on one sport would be pure selfishness on my part, and try to give those guys that experience and those memories to hold on to.
How much have you grown as a coach? I mean, you're still a young coach. You're not 40 yet. You're
tremendously.
Yeah.
I look back at my 30 whatever 1 2. I don't remember anymore, but old self, and think, man, I wish I had known a lot of things then that I know now. Especially a couple of my first 2 teams that I had at Bowling Green. I'd like to have those back, knowing everything that I know now. And I can't imagine what it'll be like 20 years from now. I'm sure I'll look at my 39-year-old self as being stupid. But
isn't that wild how we can kind of self-reflect and things like that? So the other comparison I wanted to make between Bowling Green and Perrysburg here, and you heard this when you took over the Perrysburg job. Everybody said, what kind of offense is this guy going to run? Is he going to come up and try to run a wing tee at Perrysburg? We don't want that. And everybody, that was the only thing people wanted to talk about when you got the Perrysburg job. I remember people sending me messages right away. And I asked you about this, and you and I have talked about this. You're not running that, at Perrysburg. You guys are chucking the ball all over the yard. You're in the gun. You're doing all these things. Do you laugh now at when people were kind of worried about that last year?
I mean, if you ask about it, I guess you and I can laugh, but I don't think about it because I don't care. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is winning. And what's funny is because we got that reputation, and obviously that was a question during my interview process and things of that nature. Prior to becoming the head coach at Bowling Green, that's what I tell people is, do you know how many offenses I coached that ran triple option? None. No, not a single time ever. Yeah. You got to look at your school and what you have in the kids and the type of teams you have to beat and build around that. And I feel like we've done a good job of that at Perrysburg, and I think the results are showing for themselves. But also really lucky to have really talented players.
Sure. I mean, when you have a TJ Tackett, you're gonna want to spread it out a little bit, throw it around. Talk about that coach philosophy and mindset when you have to adjust your personnel to what you have. I think that was the thing, when Rich Rodriguez came to Michigan, everybody talked about, well, he's trying to run a system that, that he doesn't have players for, or things like that. It's been talked about for 100 years in football. Yeah. Are you a guy that's willing to change what obviously you're willing to change what you do to fit your personnel? How do you do that?
Well, most of the time people talk about that have never coached a football game. But no, I'm really happy with the system that we've built. It's something we've built together as a coaching staff. And to me, you've got to have a system that's adaptable, but you need to be able to stay within that system. And so year to year, and if you look at it, like even going back to Bowling Green when we were triple options, if you look back at the different quarterbacks we had and the different personnel we had, depending on who we had, you might see us in different sets more or gravitating more towards this or gravitating more towards that. And we've done that this year. You know, there are things we're different at this year than what we were last year, and we'll do the same thing next year. And so I feel like you've got to build a base offensive system, and off that base offensive system, you've got to have different branches. And from year to year, you're going to rely on one branch way more than you rely on the other branches. And so, you know, I feel like we're built for the long haul, but we'll look at the 22 guys we can put out on the field and find the best grouping and personnel system and schemes to fit that.
And to be fair, like, I mean, there's different ways. Like Michigan literally ran a triple option play the other day out of the gun with an RPO.
Yep.
J.J. McCarthy could have handed the ball off. He could have run it, but then he actually chucks the ball out to the outside. There's three options right there. Like,
well, it's
the game is evolving and changing.
Absolutely evolving. And what's really fun to see is, you know, you give people that, oh, I don't want my whatever to run wing T or an option or whatever. We want to be in the spread. And by the way, I'd love to hear a definition of what the spread offense is. Because to most people, that just means your quarterback's in shotgun. Well, 80% of teams are in shotgun anymore. So, but we're all scheme diverse and personnel diverse. So spread's such a generic term that has no meaning to me whatsoever. But a lot of the concepts that you're talking about with the RPOs and stuff, a lot of it actually goes back to wing T principles and to triple option principles. And it's really cool to see kind of the meshing and the blending of those things. And it's fun. I tell you, I wouldn't want to be. I was a defensive coordinator for like 12 years or something like that. I'm glad I'm on the other side of the ball now.
Where does the game go next, though? Like what's the next? And do you try to like outsmart the world and be like the first guy to run something, or are you like, because coaches are always stealing from each other? Like,
absolutely.
Like I'm sitting watching Sunday Night Football, and Andy Reid runs some goal line stuff that like nobody else thinks of. Like, I don't know how Andy Reid keeps coming up with new stuff. Like, it's wild to me. Like, how do you, as a football coach, do you sit and watch those things and try to steal stuff from other coaches?
Yeah, but it's so much harder at our level. I mean, Andy Reid has those guys
of course.
8 months a year, and it's their job.
Yeah.
You know, I get Timmy at left guard for an hour and a half a week, and so your base system has to be good. I mean, your base system and infrastructure has to be good, and then, you know, we try to dress it up with formations and motions and stuff, but when it's got to all come back to fundamentals in your base system. So, but yeah, we'll steal plays, but I'm not a big fan of like one-hitters or one-offs that are just different. Everything's got to fit within the scheme, and you want to try to make it look like things you already do.
That's very interesting to me. So let's do the offense-defense thing here, because you've been on both sides of the ball. Do you enjoy one more than the other?
No, I've always, and this has always been, since I've been a head coach, I try to fill my coaching staff with the best assistants I can get. Yeah. I can coach any position on the field. I'll call offense, I'll call defense. Like, that doesn't matter to me. So it's a matter of finding the best coaching staff that you can find. And then, you know, especially at the high school level. I mean, and I say this I still have AD friends that will call from time, hey, you know, I need a football coach. What should I be looking for and stuff. You better find somebody that's not reliant upon assistance, but somebody that can build with assistance, if that makes any sense. And so I'm incredibly blessed to have the coaching staff that I have. But even going into, like, when I got the job at Perrysburg, it wasn't about, oh, I need to hire a line coach and a wide receiver coach and a running back coach. It's like, I'm going to hire the best assistants I can find, and I feel blessed that I found them. And I'll do what I have to do. That's
interesting. All right, last thing I'm going to talk to you about. You've been an athletic director. You've seen all the stuff that an athletic director has to do. Now you're just a math. I don't say just a math. That makes it sound like being a math teacher is easy. Like, that's not. I don't mean it in that way. But like, you're a math teacher now, and you're coaching football. What are the differences? Is there anything you miss about being an AD? No.
Not a lot. No. Not much. Not much. Not much.
Can you appreciate the job that Chuck has to do, though?
Absolutely.
Give people an idea. Like, what are some of the things that people have no idea about being an athletic director?
Well, first, there are no hours. And when I say there's no hours, people are thinking, oh, yeah, we know you have to go to the basketball game at night. I mean, it might be Christmas Day and you're getting a phone call from a coach about whatever that happened, or you know, it's Thanksgiving break and you're out of town or whatever, and bus didn't show up. You know who fixes that problem? Like, and those seem like little things, but man, do they add up. And it's just, especially with cell phones.
Yeah.
Like, I long for the days when it was you got to call me to talk to me on a landline phone, but it is an all-consuming job that literally from the time you wake up until the time you go to sleep, there is something happening or something that you're being contacted for. And most of the time, negative.
Yeah.
And most of the time, it's not something
No
good.
one's ever
People
called you
aren't
to tell you,
calling
hey,
you
hey,
to
Dirk, you
tell
did
you
a
how.
great job.
Yeah, and so it really can weigh on you. And you know, I have a tremendous amount of it. I know what Chuck goes through, so I try to leave him alone as much as possible. But not just him, all the athletic directors in the area. Like, it's a thoughtless job where people think you go to basketball games and eat popcorn.
Yeah.
And there couldn't be anything further from the truth. And it's just all consuming. And you are the problem solver for 1,000 different people,
including me. Whenever I have, like, hey, I feel so bad. Like the other day, we get back from the Scott football game, and the roster didn't have like a number 21 and a number 53. And so, like, I have to text with Queso Peterson at 10 p.m. like, hey, man, I'm really sorry to bug you, but who's number 53 or who's number?
Yeah.
Like, and that, like, that's stuff that people don't even think about. But like, yeah, I don't want to get the kid's name wrong because then mom or dad yells at me because I got the kid's name wrong. Do you like being back in the classroom though? Like, is that?
I love being back in the classroom. I've always liked teaching.
Okay.
And I really do. And you know, it's funny because when you're a football coach, people make assumptions about what you do during the day.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I meet new people and things of that nature, my name's Dirk Conner. I'm a high school math teacher. I don't even tell them about the other part. But you know, I enjoy my kids that I have from 7:30 to 3:30 as much as I enjoy my kids that I have all the hours outside of that. And so it's a job I really enjoy, and I'm happy being back in the classroom. You know, when I made the move to get back in the classroom, that wasn't just to get away from being an athletic director. It was going back to doing something that I really liked doing.
Yeah. Interesting. You're a much smarter guy than I. Math was never my thing.
Now, we all have different
it just wasn't my
things
thing.
that we're into.
That's why I went into journalism. I had to do like one base math class in college. I think I took a stats class in college, and I was done with it after that.
Yeah.
Math just wasn't my thing. Dirk, I really appreciate you. Keep this thing rolling. You guys are playing well, obviously. Good luck the rest of the way. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
coming
thanks
in.
for having me out.
All right, that's Dirk Conner, the head football coach at Perrysburg High School. We will see you back here next week on Sports Extra.